Predicting what lies ahead remains one of humanity's most challenging endeavors. Unexpected developments constantly reshape our anticipated future, yet we can still formulate educated projections based on current trends and announced plans. Here's a comprehensive look at significant events likely to unfold between now and the middle of the century, offering a glimpse into the transformations awaiting us in the coming decades. Beginning with 2027, just around the corner from our current moment, several noteworthy developments are scheduled. If SpaceX maintains its ambitious timeline, this could mark the year when the first crewed mission to Mars arrives at the Red Planet after departing Earth the previous year. This would represent humanity's most significant exploratory achievement since the Apollo moon landings. Additionally, 50 years after Elvis Presley's death in 1977, the complete autopsy report, which was sealed for half a century following his passing, will finally become available to the public, potentially resolving long-standing questions about the circumstances surrounding the legendary performer's demise. Moving into 2028, Los Angeles will host the Summer Olympics, bringing the world's premier athletic competition back to American soil. California continues making progress on its high-speed rail project, which aims to connect major population centers throughout the state with modern transportation infrastructure that could dramatically reduce travel times between northern and southern regions. As we transition into the 2030s, the pace of change accelerates significantly. This decade promises revolutionary advances in space exploration, with multiple nations and private entities pursuing ambitious extraterrestrial objectives. NASA continues developing its Artemis program with plans for sustained human presence on the lunar surface, establishing the groundwork for eventual Mars missions. China has announced intentions to land its own astronauts on the moon during this decade, marking a major milestone in their rapidly expanding space program. Russia similarly maintains plans for lunar missions, aiming to return cosmonauts to Earth's natural satellite after decades of absence. One of the most audacious projects scheduled for this decade is Breakthrough Starshot, tentatively planned for the mid-2030s. This initiative proposes launching miniature spacecraft toward Alpha Centauri, our sun's nearest stellar neighbor located over 4 light-years away. The target of particular interest is Proxima Centauri b, an exoplanet orbiting within its star's habitable zone where conditions might theoretically support some form of life. These tiny probes, if successfully launched around 2036, would take approximately 20 to 30 years to complete their journey, potentially transmitting the first close-up images of another star system back to Earth sometime in the 2050s or 2060s. Climate scientists project that 2037 could witness the first ice-free Arctic summer, a sobering milestone reflecting ongoing global warming trends. The disappearance of summer sea ice would have profound implications for weather patterns, wildlife, ocean currents, and geopolitical dynamics in the far north. By 2040, several European nations plan to complete their transition away from fossil fuel vehicles. France has announced intentions to prohibit sales of new gasoline and diesel automobiles, joining other countries implementing similar policies to combat climate change and reduce air pollution. This transition will fundamentally reshape transportation, urban planning, and energy infrastructure throughout developed nations. The year 2042 brings several demographic milestones worth noting. Global population is projected to reach approximately 9 billion people, placing increased strain on resources, food systems, and environmental sustainability. Within the United States, Americans of European ancestry are expected to constitute less than 50% of the total population for the first time in the nation's history, reflecting decades of changing immigration patterns and birth rates. This demographic shift will influence politics, culture, and social dynamics throughout American society. Additionally, economic forecasters predict that the world's first trillionaire may emerge around this time frame, as wealth continues concentrating among the ultra-wealthy while technological innovation creates unprecedented value in certain sectors. Literature enthusiasts will celebrate 2044, when J.R.R. Tolkien's beloved works, including The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, enter the public domain 70 years after the author's death. This will enable adaptations, derivative works, and creative reinterpretations previously restricted by copyright protections. The year 2045 holds particular significance for futurists and technology observers. Renowned inventor and futurist Ray Kurzweil has long predicted this as the approximate time frame for the technological singularity, the theoretical point when artificial intelligence surpasses human intelligence across all domains. If this prediction proves accurate, the implications would be staggering and largely unpredictable. Super intelligent, I could accelerate technological progress exponentially, potentially solving currently intractable problems in medicine, energy, and science, while simultaneously raising profound questions about human purpose, employment, governance, and existential risk. In 2048, the Antarctic Treaty comes up for review after decades of protecting the frozen continent from commercial exploitation. This renegotiation could potentially open Antarctica to mining operations and petroleum extraction for the first time, though environmental advocates will undoubtedly resist such developments given the ecological sensitivity of the region and its. Finally, we arrive at 2050, the midpoint of the 21st century. By this benchmark year, the world will look dramatically different from today across virtually every dimension. Environmental projections suggest that approximately half of the Amazon rainforest may be deforested if current trends continue unchecked, representing a catastrophic loss of biodiversity and a significant contributor to climate change. Urbanization will have accelerated, with roughly 70% of humanity residing in cities rather than rural areas, fundamentally altering how societies organize themselves. The global water crisis will likely have intensified, with projections indicating that half the world's population may lack reliable access to clean drinking water, creating humanitarian emergencies and potentially triggering conflicts over scarce water resources. On a more positive note, medical advances should push average global life expectancy to approximately 76 years, though significant disparities will persist between wealthy and impoverished nations. Artificial intelligence will have become ubiquitous and extraordinarily capable, potentially exceeding human performance across most cognitive tasks. Self-driving vehicles will likely dominate transportation in developed countries, having displaced human drivers in transformed urban landscapes, reducing accidents, changing parking requirements, and enabling new patterns of mobility and land use. Perhaps most exciting, space colonization may finally transition from science fiction to reality. A permanent settlement on Mars could house hundreds or possibly thousands of people by 2050, representing humanity's first steps toward becoming a multi-planetary species. These Martian pioneers will be establishing infrastructure, conducting research, and proving that humans can survive and thrive beyond Earth. The decades ahead contain elements that inspire both concern and excitement: environmental degradation, resource scarcity, and technological disruption pose serious challenges requiring immediate action and careful management. Simultaneously, advances in medicine, energy, artificial intelligence, and space exploration offer tremendous opportunities for improving human welfare and expanding our capabilities. The future remains unwritten, shaped by choices we make today. By working diligently in the present, acknowledging both dangers and possibilities, we can steer toward outcomes that maximize human flourishing while minimizing suffering and environmental destruction. The 23 years separating us from 2050 will undoubtedly bring surprises we cannot currently anticipate, but by understanding likely trajectories and planned developments, we can better prepare for the remarkable transformations awaiting us in the coming decades. Whether these changes ultimately benefit humanity depends largely on the wisdom, foresight, and cooperation we demonstrate in navigating the complex challenges ahead.